Hello?
Hello. If you're hearing this, that means that you beat 50/20 mode, and I have to do an interview now, which I'm kind of uncomfortable with, but I'm going to do it. Forget it. Okay, I'm done with the phone guy shtick. So I was going to try and keep it going for a while, but no, I think I'll just end it right there.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. That's perfect.
How are you doing today, Lewis?
I am very scared and nervous because, you know.
No, that's crazy talk. Yeah, I've been a little anxious about this too because I tend to ramble on with my answers sometimes, but I haven't prepared any answers for this. I'm just going to try to speak from the heart and just talk about some stuff, and yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, awesome. Because today is the 4-year anniversary of Five Nights at Freddy's. So 4 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, 4 years.
And we'll just get straight into it. So the first game, so 4 years since Five Nights at Freddy's 1, we're going to go straight into that. So the first question I'd love to ask you, kick it off with, how did you think of the original designs of the animatronics? So the original gang.
The main three characters, Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, those designs just kind of, I didn't really plan ahead like what animals they should be. Those three just kind of seemed natural to me for some reason. Mm-hmm. The only one I really struggled with was trying to think of the fourth character, who would be on the separate little stage kind of by himself.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember all the options that I originally was kind of debating between. I mean, one of the contenders was a fox, obviously, which ended up winning. The other one was a wolf. Another one was going to be a beaver, but then later I decided against that because I thought that was too on the nose from Chipper, so I decided against that. But yeah, actually, if I remember correctly, I really think that a beaver character was the front runner until I finally decided against him because of Chipper, and then went with the fox instead.
Yeah. So Freddy was always going to be the original leader instead of Chipper.
Yeah. Freddy was always going to be the main character. He was the first character that I made. Mm-hmm. It just came naturally. I didn't have to plan him out. I just knew that he was going to be a bear with a top hat, holding a microphone.
Yeah.
He was always going to be the leader of the pack.
The next question is, how did you come up with the game mechanics? So sitting alone in an office, not being able to move. I think someone mentioned about Sit and Survive. Did that have any inspiration for that? Any old games inspire you for this one?
Well, I don't think it was Sit and Survive. Sit and Survive was just kind of all of these games. Well, then again, I guess it was my mindset at the time, because my mindset at the time was to make smaller games. Mm-hmm. And that would be kind of a shorter experience, because for a while I was trying to make these, big kind of sweeping epic games like the Desolate Hope and stuff, and it was just too much of a gigantic commitment that ultimately that they just weren't paying off. And at the time I was really struggling to find something to kind of support my family and everything. Mm-hmm. And Five Nights at Freddy's was kind of the result of me switching to this idea of making these shorter experiences that I can make a bit faster, without committing 2 years to them, while also just making it a really robust experience. It's just a shorter game,
Yeah.
So I think that played a big part in it. Everything is designed to where you see everything right away. Mm-hmm. As soon as you jump in, you're in the experience. And so it doesn't matter if it lasts for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. You're in the middle of it right away. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Did anything change along the course of making FNAF 1?
I don't think I had any problems. Lots of the stuff that was in there, I don't know. Five Nights at Freddy's 1, I think just was a result of just all the right ingredients to be there. I threw a bunch of stuff in there, and then people would the people who test it would kind of give me, and I'm not my kids. I let some other people test it as well. But they would give me some advice. Like one person said, "Oh, I think you should leave out Phone Guy. I think that's too much exposition." and you know, and my mother jumped in and said, "Oh, I don't think you should have backstory about anybody getting killed. You know, I don't think the game needs that." You know, and then I think I've made a lot of good decisions about what to leave in, you know, and what to take out, and it was just all the right ingredients. All the right ingredients were there, you know. So yeah, I'm really happy with how it turned out.
It really stood out from all of the indie games everybody was playing at that time, and that's definitely how it became successful. It just stood out from any other horror experience as well. So yeah, good job. You know, really good job. Speaking about that, about it exploding, did you think it was going to, you know, get a huge reaction on the internet?
No, of course not. I mean, but like I said, at the time, you know, I was just trying to, you know, make a bunch of little games to kind of, you know, help support my family. And at the time, I think I was making, you know, slot machine games and just, you know, anything would bring in an extra, you know, $40 or $50 a month, you know, and just trying to accumulate all that stuff up. So no, whenever I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, that wasn't just an afterthought of a game. I mean, I put a lot of, you know, time and effort into Five Nights at Freddy's, obviously, but as far as, you know, expecting it to explode, no, of course not. You know, I remember whenever I released it, you know, I didn't get it on Steam or anything. It was a website called Dessa at the time, which was just more immediately welcoming of, you know, anybody who wanted to post games. I think there are other sites that do that now. But, you know, I was watching the download count on that, and I was watching it just kind of skyrocket. And, you know, and eventually my wife would come over and she'd be like, let me look at the number. Let me look at the number. She'd come over every 10 minutes wanting to see, because she was just astonished at how quickly that number was just going from, you know, 5,000 downloads, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. It was just going through the roof just by the minute, you know. And it really, at the time, I was just kind of enjoying it that evening. I was like, well, you know, this is great. You know, this is, you know, but it'll be over tomorrow. You know, and that was really my mindset. It's like, oh wow, this is, you know, it's a big spike. Everybody's really enjoying it. I wonder what I'm going to make tomorrow. You know, I had no idea that 4 years later I was still going to be in the middle of a bunch of, you know, Five Nights at Freddy's projects. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really awesome. Do you have a favorite memory of Five Nights at Freddy's 1? Yeah, I do. And it's the first jump scare for me and the first jump scare for my two kids, you know, and it was all Bonnie, which thrills me, because Bonnie is kind of the only one that I think is a scary design for me. Like, I've never had a nightmare about any of my own characters except for Bonnie. But yeah, I remember when I was developing the game at the time, Bonnie was just a still image and not an animated jump scare. I just had an image of Bonnie up in your face for whenever, you know, he had reached you. Yeah. And that startled me. You know, I was flipping through the panels and stuff, and I was intentionally I was testing out the AI. Yeah. You know, I think I even had a little map showing me that there was a little red dot moving through the building. But even though I was expecting it, I put down the monitor and there was Bonnie looking at me, and it was upsetting. You know, it was startling. Yeah. You know, and now, you know, now that doesn't really startle anybody anymore, but at the time, I don't know, it got me. And so then I was after I'd animated, I was letting my two sons play it, and I was getting to, you know, watch I had a good seat behind both of them, so I was able to get a good view of them playing and what they were playing and everything. And I knew what was coming, and they had no idea. and you know, and the younger of the two, he got jump scared by Bonnie, and he just launched backward in his chair. You know, good times tormenting the children.
I mean, you still do. You made them test Ultimate Custom Night as well. 4 years on. No,
I'll tell you what. You know, my two sons, Ian and Braden, they've been great. They've been great supporters. You know, all these years, I couldn't have done any of this without those two. You know, they've been just faithful beta testers for me. You know, and whenever they were really little, you know, I'd pay them through ice cream and stuff like that. But I made a big mistake this last time with Braden. You know, obviously I don't make them do this, so, you know, I tried to incentivize them. And Braden and you know, Braden's gotten wise to it. He's like, well, you know, how about if I go through and beat all these challenges, you know? And so I just thought, well, you know, I don't know, I'll give you $20 for each of the challenges you beat, thinking he was going to beat one or two of them. He's like, yeah, he'll spend 30 minutes on this. You know, so I'll commit 20, $20, $40, $60, whatever. He sat there and he did like a 12-hour marathon on that game. He was playing it nonstop. He was raging so hard in there. And he completed every single one of those challenges except for like the last one, I think.
Yeah.
That boy made bank that day. He walked away with about $300.
Oh, worth it.
Yeah, man. But it was totally worth it because he found bugs and glitches that would have been really bad. I mean, and that's the whole point anyway. You know, he found these things that I needed to fix before I released the game. So
okay, here's an interesting question about FNAF 1. Was there any reason why the kitchen camera was disabled, like due to gameplay limits on Click Team or anything like that?
No. I just thought it would be interesting. I mean, you know, that mechanic ended up not really playing a big role in anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think originally, you know, I had wanted, and I got better with this in later games, how to make audio play a bigger role in it. You know, I got better at that. But in the first one, that was just my attempt to make audio play a bigger part in it. Yeah. But yeah, it kind of ended up just being just something different and not really being a major mechanic or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a good mechanic to know that Freddy was in the kitchen as well, because when Freddy's in the kitchen, he plays his music, right?
That's right. That's right. So
I think it does play a mechanic, because you know that Freddy's in there, and usually when Freddy's roaming around, you see his eyes, but you just see nothing inside there. So when you were making Five Nights at Freddy's 1, were you already planning on making a sequel, or any other ideas what were flinging in your head on what to do?
I definitely left a lot of things open-ended, you know, in case I wanted to expand upon them later. I mean, obviously, like I did not have the entire story planned out, as I know there's much debate about that on the subreddit. Like, oh, you know, he's some kind of mad genius that had, you know, 7 games planned out from the beginning. No, I didn't. But I definitely knew that the story I was telling in the first game was a small snippet of a larger story. Even if I didn't have all the details of that story fleshed out yet, you know, I knew that the story being told in that game was a smaller part of a whole.
And if you could go back in time, is there anything you would change or add to Five Nights at Freddy's 1?
No, not the first one. Yeah. I can go back and think about all the other games and be like, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. But no, the first game was just kind of a perfect storm of ingredients. It was, you know, it was just the right time. You know, when, you know, everybody was really into indie horror games. Yeah. And I think it was the right look, and it was the right feel, because it was something, you know, different than what everybody else was playing. And it was, you know, kind of a type of horror game, or at least the antagonists were something that hadn't really been explored in horror games, I didn't feel. You know, the idea of animatronic creatures. So, and you know, and everybody really liked Foam Guy. Obviously, everybody liked the little Easter eggs thrown in, and the backstory. No, it was just a good mix of ingredients, and it was kind of lightning in a bottle. And I don't think I was ever able to fully capture that again, and I don't think I really will be able to. And that's okay. I mean, like I said, that was kind of lightning in a bottle.
Right, we'll go on to Five Nights at Freddy's 2 next. November 2014. If you didn't make this game, I wouldn't be here now, basically. Honestly, it's the truth. So FNAF 2 is the game that really means a lot to me, and I'll be forever grateful for it. So, yeah, thank you. Just wanted to quickly plug that in.
Good.
I appreciate it. About Five Nights at Freddy's 2, how did you get the idea for, you know, changing the mechanics up a little bit? So the masks and the vents, you know, watching the puppet.
You know, there wasn't a really in-depth planning phase. For like the overall feel of the games, like a lot of these were, I just kind of knew what they were supposed to be, or just kind of felt the way that the series should progress. Like I knew that part 2 should be chaotic. You know, part 2 should be, you know, a lot more chaotic than the first one. It should be just crazy. It should be overwhelming panic.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also knew, even at that time, before as I was working on part 2, I knew that 3 should be a very personal experience. It should be the opposite of what 2 was. You know, part 3 should be kind of one-on-one, and I knew that part 4 should be kind of unique as far as setting and things like that. And I knew that part 5 should be kind of high tech, and I even kind of already had color schemes picked out. Like I knew that part 5 should kind of be purples and blues. I knew that 3 should be kind of green, and I knew that 2 should be kind of 2 should feel kind of industrial, which I think that it does. But outside of that, I'm not really sure. And maybe there was more to it at the time, but you know, it all happened so fast, you know.
Did you have any scrapped content or anything for the game? Because some people mentioned the toxicity. Is that toxicity meter?
Right. The toxic meter. I think, if I remember correctly, I think that the toxic meter was an early idea on just something so that players couldn't put the mask on and leave it on forever.
Yes, leave it on forever.
I had the idea that if you put the mask on, this meter starts running out. But I don't know. That didn't really seem to fit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It just didn't seem to. It just didn't make quite as much sense. And so then the way that I solved it was, you know, obviously having the need to go and wind the music box every once in a while, and the fact that, you know, Foxy was immune to the mask. You know, so I came up with other ways that felt a little more natural than just putting on the mask and seeing a meter deplete. It's like, oh, okay, I can only wear this for 5 seconds. It seemed a little too artificial.
And it works perfectly anyway, so I don't think it was needed anyway because of what you just said. The things that you've added, you're not going to always keep the mask on forever anyway. So, was there a reason why you decided to remove Toy Chica's beak after she left the stage to make her more creepy, right?
You know, once again, I'm not entirely sure what my mindset was on that. I think it was just kind of a way to distinguish her stage presence Chica from now I'm a monster coming to get you. You know, like if she's entered attack mode or something. You know. Once again, actually, I think maybe part of it is because, like, you know, a classic Chica, even on stage, was still kind of creepy looking, but the toy versions, just in their standing state on stage, weren't quite as creepy. I mean, I think Toy Bonnie still retains some of that, but like Toy Chica isn't really scary looking. Toy Chica by herself isn't very scary, I didn't think. And so removing the beak was just one thing to just kind of push it into, you know, making her look a little more uncomfortable.
How did you come up with the minigames? Because this was the first game to ever have minigames. Was this to, you know, show the lore not on paper, if that makes sense? So, you know, instead of just giving like this and this and this, oh, blah, 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 the killer killed 5 kids, yada, yada, yada. But instead you didn't show it on paper, you put into a minigame.
Right. I think it was because, I don't know, I wanted to keep the gameplay experience similar, but I also wanted to make the game a little bit more fleshed out than the first one, and so that just seemed like a kind of a natural way to do that, where, you know, while not interfering with the gameplay, you know, putting it in kind of an unexpected way that would make it interesting, but while also not making the player feel like they're forced to sit through cutscenes and things like that.
Do you have any good memories of FNAF 2 at all? Or bad?
That was a really stressful time for me, I think, because obviously, you know, my life was changing a lot at that point. You know, there was just there was a big frenzy going on with just all aspects of my life, and I was really trying to work on that. But I mean, they're still good memories. But I just wouldn't want to revisit that. You know, it was really chaotic, and I was really stressed out. So I mean, all good memories, but I wouldn't want to revisit it.